Good afternoon, everyone. Today's November the 15th. It's 3 o'clock. Well, a little past 3, but it's the Water Committee meeting. My name is Yolanda Melbourne. I'm the Deputy Clerk, and I will be taking roll call. Currently, we have John Rohrabeck present, Deputy Mayor Joan Stover, Liam Craig, the Chair and Councillor Greg Booth, Larry Sparica, I did that right, from Lakefront Utilities, Adam Taggart of Lakefront Utilities, Grant Parkinson from GM Blue Plan, and Bruce Heitkamp from GeoCamp Limited. We also have with us Nicole Leach-Bahoon, our treasurer here at the township. We do have quorum and we can begin the meeting.
Okay, thank you, Yolanda. I will mention the territorial land acknowledgement. Before our meeting gets underway, I would like to formally recognize the traditional keepers of this land and specifically our neighbors in the Elderville First Nation with a formal territorial acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the township of Alderman is located on the Mississauga-Ashanitic territory and is the traditional territory of the Mississauga-Ashanitic. The township of Alderman respectfully acknowledges that the Mississauga Nations are the collective stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. Okay, we'll go to number 3, which is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and the nature thereof? Seeing none, I have to remember to look up at the screen too. We'll move on to number 4, which is approval of the agenda is circulated. Be it resolved that the agenda for the November 15th, 2023 meeting of the Grafton Communal Water Committee be approved as circulated. Can I get a mover, please? Moved by Liam Craig, seconded by John. Any discussion? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor. No discussion. Oh, okay. Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. Number 5, approval of the minutes. Be it resolved that the minutes of September 13th, 2023 Grafton Communal Water Committee meeting be approved. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Deputy Mayor Joan Stover, seconded by Liam Craig. Any discussion or concerns? Go ahead, Joan.
I'm just wondering, update on the modeling and feasibility study we have. That was in the minutes.
Maybe Nicole, would you know? I know council discussed about the water modeling that that staff proceed with the RFP.
Through you, Councillor Booth, I'm not aware of the status of that. Yolanda, would you know in the clerk's department whether there's anything that's come through on that?
So to give a bit of an update on the water model study, the clerk's department has been given an example of an RFP for water model study from the city of Barrie. And we're gonna kind of use that. So right now we're in the process of reviewing that and coming up with our own RFP. We're also going to reach out to maybe Lakefront Utilities for their assistance, technical expertise when it comes to water modeling. It's with the clerk's department at the moment. It's in draft at the moment, so it is in the works, and we're hoping to get an RFP out in December if we can.
Thank you very much, Yolanda, for the update. Thank you, Nicole. Okay, all in favor of the approval of the minutes? Carried. Okay, number 6, business arising from the previous minutes. None. Put that on the screen. This is going really nice. We'll be out of here another minute. Financial reports. No, we won't be. There we go. Water Department budget to actuals to August 31st, 2023 comparison report, and Water Department budget to actuals to September 30th, 2023 comparison report. Be it resolved that the budget to actuals to August 31st, 2023, and budget to actuals to September 30th, 2023. Comparison reports be received and filed. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Deputy Mayor Jones, seconded by John. Okay, discussions, or maybe Nicole, you'd like to go through it if you want, and then people can ask you questions if there are any questions.
For sure. I'm just pulling up the September. I mean, as usual, you will find that the water customer income, we're always behind on that. That comes in every couple of months, and then we're normally another month behind before we get those funds in. So when you start looking at budget versus actual, that's why you'll see a variance there as well. Transfer from reserves will not come through until a bit later this year. What I will do is go through and see what we've actually spent on the well. That's what the majority of those funds were coming in to cover. And so that will happen closer to the end of the year. I think as far as most of the expenses, or if there's any questions there, I would just open that up. A lot of times those are things that Larry or even Adam might be able to answer if they're directly related to lakefront utilities. And then, of course, the well, I've got a separate report for that, and it outlines what the expenditures to date that have come through. October financials will be going out within the next week, and so they will be presented at the next water committee meeting.
Thank you, Nicole. Is there any questions or concerns? Liam, go ahead.
Through you to Nicole. Just will this all be balanced out by the time you see the December 31st year end, or is it still going to be a matter of having to make sure these entries do happen in the year 2023, or is this something that may carry over to next year?
Are you talking specifically like for the well, or are you talking just in general terms?
In general terms.
So what will happen with water is everything has to balance out when we get to the end of the year. So I mean, if we we're over budget, then that has to come out of the water reserves. If we don't use all of our budget and we're under budget, then those funds will go back into the water reserves. At this point, I can't tell you where we're going to land. I mean, already I can see there are some expenditures that are over, but some that we're under on. So, you know, where we will land, I can't tell you for sure. I can tell you if we're not where we originally projected with the well project, then we will only bring in from reserves what we need to cover the expenditures that have taken place to that point. And then that will get deferred into the 2024 budget.
I think maybe to help you to William, is our next meeting is the 17th of January. So by then, Nicole, or is that still a week or two early that all the final numbers or invoices would be paid?
Sorry, Councillor Booth, I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing you, but you're saying 17th of January is when the next meeting would be. So
would these numbers be pretty well settled for that?
So I guess the question would be at that point is, will we have all the invoices in? And I'm not sure whether in past we have had everything from Lakefront Utility by that point. as well, we would need to put a push on any of our contractors, especially the well project, to ensure that those are in. And generally, by the 17th of January, I would say no, not necessarily. I mean, we tend to keep our accounts payable open longer than that, just to ensure that we're getting everything in from the prior year end. Can we do our best to get as much as we can in? Yes, but that also requires everyone here at the table that might have outstanding services or projects on the go to ensure that they're getting us those invoices in a timely manner. So that is something that before the end of the year, I do send out to all of our department heads requesting that they contact the suppliers, contact anyone who's doing any major projects for us to get those invoices in. But I mean, generally within the first 2 weeks, at the end of a year, we don't have everything.
Okay, thank you. And that Larry was indicating that too, that probably by the 17th, it would be too early to make sure everything's in.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other concerns over the budget to actuals? Okay, all in favor? Carried. Another report from Nicole. Be it resolved that the Grafton Communal Water Committee receive and file the progress report on investing in the Canada Infrastructure Program, Green Infrastructure Stream Funding, and for replacement for the Grafton Drinking Water System well.
Okay, so I think for the most part, this
Super.
report is self-explanatory. However, just a few things. I know I've detailed the invoices that had come in up to the end of October from each of our contractors. There's a few little things in there that you know, you may wonder, like Coburg Home Hardware. I believe we had to pick up a few things just to ensure that the signage went up and was in place when our representative from the ministry visited the location. And then we did get Ontario line clearing and tree out to ensure that we could get in to drill the well. So really it shows at this point we on the overall project expenditures, we're still only at a 2.5% on completion for costs that have actually come in and been invoiced to us. My understanding is that the well has been drilled. However, I think there's still some invoices to arrive here at the office with regards to that. So
Sorry, Chair, if you wanted to actually read that motion now, you could.
sorry.
Be it resolved that the Grafton Communal Water Committee receive and file the progress report on investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, Green Infrastructure Stream Funding for replacement for Grafton Drinking Water System well. Can I have a mover, Liam, seconder, John? Report. Is there any questions for Nicole? Seeing none. Okay, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we'll go on to number 8, projects, current updates, construction, and others. Be it resolved that the correspondence from Larry Sparika, manager of the water capital projects, Lucy Reed, Grafton Drinking Water Systems 2023 operations report, reporting period September to October 2023 be received and filed, and further that the report be forwarded to the council of the township of ANH. I have a mover, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor John Stover, seconded by Liam. Discussion, or actually, Larry, we'll let you go ahead and do your presentation.
Yeah, as you can see, for September and October, the water volume, knowing the fall is increased during the year, which is normal. So, and we did put a little blurb in there that the new well was started for the drilling, and that was taking place with PH Hart and Son. During the distribution system, The annual hydro flushing began and was completed on September 15th. And annual valve was completed on May 30th. Did the valves earlier in the year. Hydrant repairs, there is no activity in 2 months. Service repairs, no activity. And the Grafton drinking water system, the quality management external accreditation audit, which happens every 3 years, was completed on October the 2023 by NSF. And the auditor identified one minor non-conformity regarding record keeping. He goes through the WCMS program and checks off all 21 boxes, and she found the irregularities with our record keeping on our handheld instrument. So we rectified that through that has been resolved. Then the next thing was the Grafton drinking water permit. It expired on September 30th, and Bruce Geocamp is working on getting a new one for Grafton, and I'm presuming that it'll come after the new well is in, so the current permit to take water is status quo by the industry. And that's the updates for the last couple of months. So the system is running well, and we don't have to repair anything. It's good. Questions? Yeah.
Not so much as a question, but there was an instance of water leakage at St. Mary's Cemetery that came to light, and was just wondering, did it get repaired?
Yeah.
I can speak to that through the chair. The leakage was confirmed to be on the metered side of the connection. So entirely internal. To my knowledge, I don't know if it's repaired, but it has been shut off.
Thank you. Thank you for that, and I know, Joan, you saw that, it came on Facebook. And then I had phoned Adam, and Adam said, we're gonna send somebody over right away to just make sure, and then he confirmed a few hours later, Greg, it's not our problem, it's on the others. Was it just a small copper pipe, you think, Adam, or was it like it's just that feeds the water tap or something, so it wasn't like a major? It wasn't our problem, so that's nice. Okay. Any other questions or that? And Bruce, everything's going well with the permit to take water and the BTEX and everything? We don't have a report from you, Bruce, right?
Nope.
I didn't have a report. Sorry there, I was just trying to unmute. It's everything's going normal with that program. I think I was last out in September. And the next outing for the loop for the permit to take water conditions is December. But really nothing to report.
That's good news.
Yeah, it's good news. No news is good news.
No bills, no invoices, that's good. All in favor? Carried. Okay, thank you very much, Larry and Bruce. We're going on to correspondence from Frank, GM Blue Plan, 3 Grafton well replacement. Be it resolved that the correspondence from Brent Parkinson, GM Blue Plan, 3 Grafton well replacement project status report 2 be received and filed. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Liam, seconded by John. The floor is yours, Frank.
Yeah, thank you, Chairperson. So, yeah, so the work on the pumping well 1 replacement project has been going well. Actually, Bruce and I just met with Tony Guerrera at Greer Galloway and Chris Rancourt, his hydrogeologist, just before this meeting. So basically, since our last meeting in September, the well has been drilled. They have a pilot hole completed and cased. The well was drilled sort of the first week of October, and they've installed the screen. They've sort of logged what the geological formations were. What we found with the geology that we encountered during the drilling, it looks fairly similar, closer anyway to pumping well 2, which is the the better well, the well that does not have the elevated ammonia, and not that similar to pumping well 1, which does have the ammonia. So that's a good sign anyway. That's a favorable thing. We haven't done the actual water quality testing on the well yet. We're just not at that stage yet. What we had talked about with Tony Guerrera and the hydrogeologist just before this meeting was the planning for the pumping test. So Hart Drilling has, I guess, finished most of their work, and then they're going to have a lot of water come in, and they'll be involved with the pump testing of the well. So what the plan is there is probably, I think, late next week. And Bruce, correct me if I'm wrong here, is there'll be a sort of a multi-stage comprehensive well testing program. So we'll do a 1-day step test likely at the end of next week. And then the following week, which is the week of November 27th, do a 3-day test. And there will be monitors put in a number of other wells around the area, including the wells of the plant, the wells of the MRF, the monitoring well on Edwardson Road, and several wells at the landfill. And then they'll do the long-term pumping test, and they'll monitor the water flow rates out of the pumping well itself, out of the new well, and then the water levels in several monitoring wells all around the vicinity. And that will all be electronically recorded, and Greer Galloway with their hydrogeologist will prepare a report on that. So they'll be looking at the production rate, sort of the water quantity side anyway, the production side. They'll be looking at the what the production rate of the new well will be, and what its impact on the well itself in terms of the drawdown, and what the physical impact is on nearby wells as well. And then the other part will be to look at the water quality. So we'll do some sampling out of the production well at specific stages for general water quality and general water chemistry, as well as ammonia. Ammonia is the key water quality parameter here, and that's really the main overall purpose of the project. Grafton already has plenty of water. This project isn't here to get more water. It's to get water of a better quality than pumping well 1. We're hoping to get water quality similar to pumping well 2. And the new well is physically drilled more in that area, just over towards pumping well 2, a little bit past there, a little bit further to the west. So there's going to be quite a lot of field work and activity for all of the project team and the consultant team over the next few weeks. Like I said, the well is sort of physically drilled now, encased with the screen. So the next stage is to do sort of the very specific comprehensive pumping tests and water quality sampling. So there'll be so we're probably going to know in the next few weeks, hopefully, if we have a successful well. I think the early indications are that the yield or capacity out of the well should be fine. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bruce, but I think the capacity looks like it's similar to the other 2 wells. It's about 200 gallons a minute or 900 liters a minute, plus or minus. So there's enough water there. And I don't think there was, I think we were pretty confident all along that we would find enough water. So the key thing is just to do the proper test where we can specifically, scientifically record the results of the production, the drawdown rates, and the water quality. So like I said, in the next few weeks, there'll be lots of activity and lots of new information coming in.
Yep, that's about it. The well drilling is a little bit behind. They started off quick, but it took about a month to get the screen in. And the samples we received and how we built the well and what it's looking like, it looks like a successful well, because it's a bit of a gamble when you build these wells. You never know what you're going to get, but so far it looks promising.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. If there are any questions, go ahead, John.
I have a few.
Yeah.
First question is, the deposit was sealed off due to the odor. Can you give us an update on what that odor is? Is that an issue at all, or? is it-
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question. I can explain that. So when the well was initially drilled, they drilled down to, I think it was 267 feet, sort of a similar depth to the existing production wells. And in the bottom, I think 8 or 9 feet, when they got into the very bottom of it, there was some hydrogen sulfide odor, which was like a rotten egg odor. Wasn't a big concern, but something that we needed to address. So basically the hard drilling, they went back and just sealed off or plugged that bottom part of the well, that bottom 8 or 9 feet formation. So it's not part of the well anymore. It's just sealed off and not part of the productive area that we're going to be getting water from.
You saw this before, have you, is this odor, any kind of concern?
So I couldn't quite hear. If you could ask the question again.
You said you sealed it off, it sounds like it, I don't know what that means. I know you're taking away the odor, but is that odor anything that you're concerned about? As Bruce or you saw anything like this before?
No, I wasn't too concerned about it. It is common to have hydrogen sulfide in it can, it's not common. It can occur with drilling. I attended the drilling, same with the hydrogeologist from Greer Galloway. It was just an observation. Like Grant said, we drilled, we actually hit a lot of formation. So it made it easy for us to design a well at that location. We put in the 30 feet of screen. I want to say 10 meters of screen. Or is it 20 feet of screen. I think we had 40 feet of formation. So we screened the upper portion of that zone, the whole aquifer. And it was just it was just a field observation that the lower ones had a hydrogen sulfide smell. And so, but drilling up above, I didn't notice it at all till we, the samples come up and determined them. So what we've done, we've put in a bentonite plug in the bottom, and the bentonite is it's just a clay that expands to almost twice its volume, and so that sealed off that zone from up above. So I'm confident that the hydrogen sulfide will not be an issue. And I don't think it's been an issue, hydrogen sulfide, with the existing wells either.
That was Bruce, I saw in the financial report that we're 2.5% spent. I'm wondering if you help me here. Can we, going forward at some point, see the percent spent versus the percent completed in the project on an ongoing basis? And it's early yet, and I'm not looking to get it real quick, but as we get into spending more, I'm interested in how much we've spent percentage-wise versus how much percent of the project is done. We get a general feel of how much on track we are with some.
We haven't received the invoice for the drilling, but the drilling has proceeded according to plan. So I don't foresee the actual well construction costs getting away on us. The testing seems like it's coming, like we had a meeting before this to discuss the performance test on the well, and that seems to be in line. And then I guess there's the engineering fees, and so far there hasn't been a lot of engineering involved in it. But in the next short while, a lot of things are going to start happening. So I think the well invoicing will take place. But again, I think that's in line with what was bidded on. And I think it's gonna be, close to the budget. I don't foresee anything different so far.
So Frank, would that be possible in future reports? Could you provide something like that? What John is asking is percentage of the budget that's spent and maybe a correlating figure that shows the percentage of the job that's completed?
Yes, I can do that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
And for the drilling, we over exaggerated a bit on the depths and the unit rates. So I foresee us as maybe, being under, if anything, on the well construction costs.
This is just a general one. I'm just interested in the relationship between the project and Lucy. How much is Lucy involved into the project? There's a point in time when the well's done and Lucy takes over, is that correct? And so I'm kind of just generally interested in how that works. How does Lucy get involved with the project and then taking over to running that site as a new well?
Yeah, I think with Mr. Chairperson, with that, we wouldn't see the operator Lucy, I guess, formally take over the new well and everything until like this construction project is basically completed and commissioned and tested and verified. So there's a fair bit of work that'll take some time. Like assuming this well is 100% successful in terms of its supply and its water quality, then there'll be more conventional construction involved, like the well driller and the hydrogeological part that phase of the work will be completed, and there'll be like a civil construction contractor will have to install a pipeline from the well into the treatment plant, and then a power supply and control cables from the plant out to the well, and then there'll be some minor process piping modifications inside the plant to connect the new well in to the existing system. And there'll probably be some minor modifications to the power and the control or SCADA system in the plant as well for the new well. So there'll be another, like an outside construction contract for that conventional construction work. And only when that's all done and tested and completed and proven out, will it, like once the construction contract is finished at that stage, then it will be like the upgraded system will be turned over to Lakefront.
We also have, there's a few administrative issues too. The water taking permit has to be amended for the new well. Then to amend it too, we have to do a source water protection. But I'm not getting into the source water protection right now. We've touched base with the Conservation Authority about modifying the source water protection, but we may have to. I think the plan was that we sub out the source water protection modeling, and then that is submitted to the Conservation Authority, Ministry of the Environment. So there's a administrative work and approvals before we can, commission that well. So there's going to be delays with that. So in terms of timing, I think, it could be a year before we're pumping water.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, the only point I was going to say was like Brad touched on there, basically Lucy will get involved with this system integrator, the SCADA system, and when it's brought into the water plant and all that, we'll help to see that and make sure that everything is what we need in the end.
Okay. Good, thank you. And just before John, Bruce, you mentioned the conservation area. Is it the Lower Trent Conservation Area there, or is that Ganaraska?
Ganaraska.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, John. You had some more. That's it. Okay, thank you. Liam, did you have a question, or was it covered by one of John's?
mostly covered by John's, in the old banking days, it was cost of work in place, cost to complete, and of course, that billing cycle in the middle. Just want to make sure that we're on budget.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Can we have a mover and a seconder for that? So any other questions? Everybody's good? All in favor? Grant's report? Thank you. Thank you very much, Grant.
Hey, thank you.
Okay, now from Adam, whereas the Grafton Communal Water Committee has reviewed the correspondence from Adam Taggart with Lakefront Utility Services regarding the quotation for signage at the water treatment plant, be it resolved that the Grafton Communal Water Committee approve of the quotation in the amount of $250 plus HST for the design and $810 plus HST for the printing and mounting of the signage. And further, that the Grafton Communal Water Committee make recommendation to the Council of the Township of Vantage to approve the purchase and installation of a sign at the water treatment plant based on the quoted prices. Can I have a mover, please, and a seconder? Moved by Joan, seconded by John. And Adam, I'll let you take it over.
There, during our last visit, this came up at the Water Planning Council, and the committee was present, came up with discussion with a few councilors, members. The idea that we're completing this project, you have a facility that you can be proud of. It's operated and maintained in a manner that would likely be the envy of some of your neighbors. And it would be nice, especially given that this project is about to be completed in a year. I think it might make a nice capstone for the facility to say, this is what it is. This is what we have.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Adam? Go ahead, Joan.
To you, right? I just wondered, the road was always a bit of a thought about not having too much signage around one's water supply. I'm just wondering where that fits when we're putting signage up
I have heard that. At the same time, when you attend, for instance, Covert's, there's a sign on it that's unmistakable. As many of your larger neighbors, I have experience in Belleville, Union Water, which is very large supply, and various facilities in southwestern Ontario, when signage is pretty much
Okay.
known.
Go ahead, Lee.
Thank you. So we're looking at permanent signage, not construction signage then. Oh, wonderful idea. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Just remember, if we end up with big Great Blue water and standing water tower, it's gonna be just like Culver's.
now.
I did the one from 20, 30 years ago. I guess there's no LED sign on this, right? It's just a. Okay, so, we have a mover and a seconder. If this passes, me and Joan will take it back to, council, and I'm sure that they would, feel that I agree with that. We're very proud of it. I know council was very impressed, Lucy, with the plan and how clean it was and everything, and how that we don't have water issues and everything like some of our neighbors have, and say crammy, but. So,
Wasn't that discussed about being signed yesterday for the water
no, I don't think so.
with
I
Brian?
don't, but we'll, you and me will bring it up. We bring that all up and we'll talk about the updates and everything. So all in favor? Carried. Okay. I'm sure Yolanda will remind me at the next meeting and I'll bring it up.
It'll be on the agenda.
Number 9, items for discussion. The Great Booth elevated water storage, the updates to existing water bylaws. And what I'll say is Grant and Bruce, and same as Lucy, if you want, we're gonna, well, maybe just for the elevated water storage, we can talk about it, but Bruce, you and Grant, you're more than welcome. Thank you for everything that you've done for us. I don't want to keep you on here to listen to the boring updates to the water bylaws and people complaining. You're free to go, or if you think it's entertaining, you want to stay, you're welcome to stay. And same as Lucy, Alan and Larry, if you want to stay, then it's up to you. You come all the way out here. We don't have the donuts and the coffee and everything, Larry, that that's Lucy. No, we have the donuts. But thank you again, Grant and Bruce. Okay, so, I think we had talked about the last meeting, correct me if I'm wrong, that we were gonna, instead of talking about the water storage, we were gonna keep them separate, and we were gonna do the water bylaw one today, because, Yolanda sent it out to everybody, and I know I'm not making an excuse for myself and Joan, but I know we had quite a busy week this week with library and council yesterday and everything, that I've gone through it a couple of times, but I would still like to discuss it further. And I know one of the members, Rick Cole, wasn't able to come today, and she has a whole report that she would like to submit. So I told her we would still discuss it today and percolate some ideas, and then maybe in January we can dissect it all and think what we want. I think the whole idea of the existing water bylaws was to look at it. We can talk to the expert, Yolanda, who knows what some of the concerns and problems are, and we can actually look at it and begin to understand it. And Larry and Adam are here if we wanted to ask him any questions. John, you had go ahead.
My question is, you skipped right into the existing water bylaw, but I heard you say we're gonna separate the water storage.
They are
but-
separate.
But is there not
items.
gonna be any kind of update today, not just where we're at with the water storage? I mean, I wanted to make a motion that it's gonna be called the Greg Booth one, that the Booth Foundation.
Yeah. No money.
I mean, we have to do an RFP. It's already paid for. But I'm wondering if you any kind of update on what it's worth, not to get into details.
Yes, I don't think there is, because maybe Larry and Adam can comment, because I think we talked about how it would affect the water modeling and this and that and everything, and should we be looking at that until the study's done? But I'll let the two experts, what do you guys think?
Sure, the previous proposal from Criteria that was undertaken about a decade ago was updated with very original pricing and 2 options, and was sent for review and comment to Mr. Parkinson, and he outlined some further steps in email conversation with the CAO of the township, and they're both in possession of that initial piece of information. From there, I'm not sure what steps that the committee wishes to undertake. It would, from here on in, I think further exploration involves cost and likely some sort of engineering study. As well, we are seeing, and I furnished to staff, I believe it was the CAO, there has been new funding announced for infrastructure. Although the details haven't been provided, the minister released it yesterday or the day before. We got it through Minister Puccini. That has also been forwarded to staff so that we might know where we are. But if you wish to explore this further past, it would probably involve undertaking an engineering study.
So what I can do, John, is I'll talk to Dave and myself and Joan. We can find out what Grant actually, some of these numbers and preliminary figures and stuff like that, and we can bring it back.
Just so can we get an update for next meeting?
Yeah, we'll get an update for that.
Where we're at.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I put that in, and I guess my concern was, and I don't know, maybe it doesn't affect it at all, guys, from Lucy, but the water modeling and all that, would any of that discuss that issue too, with possibly having an elevated thing, or they don't get into that? They're just looking at the disbursement of the. Would they discuss that at all or anything, or would there be a recommendation in the water modeling or anything, or no?
I think it's unlikely that you're going to see a recommendation out of the water model, but the installation of it. That would certainly change the nature of the, water model. So one would inform the other.
And can I pick your guys' brains for 1 second? When we were at your QMN meeting there, two ago, myself and Joan, your, I guess it was your director, whatever, he mentioned that if we're doing the water modeling, we should maybe add on, what was that other? The master plan, that a lot of water places now are doing a master plan. Would that, if that was done, would that include something with an elevated water storage? Would that, what does a master plan do separate from the water modeling? I guess my question is.
If I can answer that, if you sure. The water master plan is a great tool for council. Because it sets out everything that you would need and you would look out 30 years from now. And you have to think outside of the box. And you have to look at what's going to happen in the future, development is happening. People want water in certain areas. Well, the water master plan will lay it out for council what direction they want to go into, where the system needs to be improved in order to get water to these places. And then it'll divide it into what is needed for current and needed for development. And then you can use DC charges to pay for those in the end. And the master plan, if you go with a water tower, it'll tell you, okay, this is what we need to do to make it work. And if we need fire protection, this is what we need to make that work. And it also looks at long-term planning on what needs to be replaced or what needs maintenance and stuff like that. And it looks at everything, it gives you a good overview of your system, how it's running, what has to be done. So a master plan is key for council. That's how we see it in Coburg, because we have a direction, we know where we're going, and it's all laid out. These streets have to be done in 10 years, these streets have to be done in 15 years. The water plan is just done in 15 years or 7 years or something. But the master plan, and it also helps with your financials, so that you can have the sort of plans that
My way of thinking, I mean, it would tie into the water, the elevated water storage and all of that, where we're going. And I know, I can't remember which your boss. Derek mentioned that it might be a good idea if you're doing the water modeling to maybe add this to it, because it could be a little cheaper if the company is doing something that could tie into it. And then John would, talk about the future stuff. So maybe Yolanda will go down, we can mention to about that to find out whether we could add that onto it. I don't know.
it's the master plan will say that if you have elevated storage, this is what we do to and all that. So it gives you a lot of information to digest and gives you reasons for.
Okay.
Good. Go ahead.
As well, I have shared with staff an example of for and so that's
Oh, so that's already in the works, and master plan as well.
Nothing. It should be accurate.
Oh,
No, so if I could just interject and through the chair. We were only approved for $50,000 in the budget to do a water model study. The master plan is likely not included in that. So it's something that would have to go back to council for them to get approval and for us to find financial backing. But with this funding that's coming through with some of the grants and stuff, I think it's something that we definitely need to look into. I know the clerk's office now has that information as well. So I think we're going to review some of that just to see what kind of funding is available, and if we can apply for it, we will.
And that's what they told us, that there could be money coming that would help you with the wasn't so much the water modeling, it was the master plan, that you could get some of that covered with a grant. And we were thinking it's better to, so we can even talk about it now, and then we can take a recommendation to council to say that we recommend. I know, Larry, I think you and Adam were telling me that I think, and Nicole might know if she's there for this. I think we put 50,000 or 55,000. And weren't we, Larry, thinking that was more than enough? We thought that maybe it would be around the $30,000 range, or am I way on base? Maybe I'm thinking of something else. For the water model.
Yeah, I think it's in the year between 30.
Maybe it might be an opportunity if we get grant money that we can do them both at once. John, we wanted to.
This is part of that. Does Lucy have any idea what a master plan might cost more than what the modeling would cost? Is it twice the price? Is it 20% more, 50% more? Do you want to have any idea?
When I came here in 2015, Lucy didn't even have a water model or a master plan. So we started with a water model, and a couple of years later, we did a master plan, and that master plan, what we're using now, is tell us what our development needs to be done for Cobra East, where the development were attributed and all the developers are building the extra homes. It's almost going to double Cobra in the next less than 10 years. And our elevated tank has just got kicked off this week. So we're building a new elevator. That all came through the master plan. That told us what was going to happen in the future and how we have to serve the population. So the master plan, I tell you what, it'd be a conversation with council and planning on what's in the future, what's the horizon, and then that would come back.
Do you have a ballpark? I think John's asking, are we talking, like, is it the same as the water modeling where we're looking at 50-50 or 30-30 or?
Budgetary numbers, Chair, for we conducted. Water model, and it was just looking at the budgetary numbers for the master plan today, and it was about 20% more than it happened for parts. So the master plan would be a little more money than water model, but not a great deal.
But that's for Cobra.
That was for Cobra.
A lot bigger.
For here, I would imagine you would see similar proportions.
Thank you. When CAO Dawson made a presentation to this group, he did so with a diagram of water pipes in the ground. Is that something that can be used as data for the water modeling, or is that something water modeling is going to audit and confirm?
The water models, what it does is it picks up, it will have all your piping in there that we put through. It also has the fire pump kicks out when it turns on. When you open a hydrant, the fire pump kicks on, and then you more volume on. So what the water model will do is it takes all our data that we have in the SCADA system at the water plant, and then it downloads it into a program, and then it starts to show the linear stuff on the ground, what its capability is and how much volume can go through it. And then when somebody like the developer wants to add to the system, and it'll say, okay, give us your pipe, and then they add it all in there, and it'll say, well, can it make it, or can the water be provided for fire flows and daily maximum day flows. The water model will spit out a report or numbers, and then that'll say where you are. In some cases, an engineering firm may say that you need, they propose 150 mil 6-inch water pipe, but the water model may say, no, you need 200 8-inch in order to provide the flows and that for that area. And that's where it comes in handy, but it uses the data in the linear stuff already. We have the distribution system map. We have the sizes of everything. We have fire flows. We have, we know what they are. We know how much water we pump from the plant. We know the pressures and all that gets loaded into it.
So I guess where my question was going was, do we have a lot of the data already, or are we starting from scratch?
We have a lot of that.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
My question and point is, we already have gone around a few times getting a lot budget done and approved and going forward. I'd be really concerned if we spin that again with another 50K for the master plan. I really think we should do the model. We have the budget for it and they're moving on it and not have a master plan of another 50K slow down.
No, I agree with you. I think the question was just sort of these gentlemen, what are we talking about? Is it an extra 20? Would it be worth going back to council and saying before you do an RFP to add it? But if we're talking that, it's sort of that's out of, and let's get the water modeling done because we need that. We have new construction and everything happening. And then maybe when the new plant is, the new well is in and everything like that, another year or two that we should look at. You know what, let's have the master plan to find out where we're going in the future, right? And the elevated water source was mentioned by the fire chief, but I know talking to you two gentlemen, it's not like it's a dire thing right now. We have a system that works. It's not a perfect system. And we would love to have the elevated water storage, but my personal thinking is let's get the well done. We've got a big, huge construction thing. Let's get the water modeling done. When all that's done, we're all happy, then let's do the plan for the future of where we're looking for the next. Go ahead.
I appreciate the linear thinking, however, another thing to take into account is funding. And when grants and programs are available to do things, that's when you want to have your project shovel ready. And so I feel that we should be aggressive in pursuing the groundwork for the master plan and also for above ground water storage.
Yeah, and I can agree. It's just that I do know in doing grants, you have to be fully prepared. You can't. I think what John's getting at there is let's not do a half-assed job that we've tried to rush things in the past and haven't had the proper, you have to be shovel ready to go. So I think even when you're talking about an elevated water storage, I think if you had a master plan that showed all that and everything, that would help you in filling out the grant stuff. There's always grant stuff coming. We can't always hit the deadline, but I understand what you're saying, Ian. We want to move forward, right? I mean, even this well that we're doing now, it's been how long, Larry, and talking and everything, and we've been accused, if we would have had it ready, we could have got it 2, 3, 4 years ago or whatever. But to me, it was a very political thing, right? Until the stars aligned that, guess what? There's a federal election and there's a provincial election, and all of a sudden the politicians all gonna come here with a nice check. It was great for us. We suddenly got approved in years before. No. Go ahead, John.
Through you, Greg, I'm just wondering what we have in place now, because the development that's going to be going on in New Danforth, or is it the Old Danforth? Old Danforth. The new Danforth development in the Old Danforth site, and actually Grafton Heights, and possibly another one down there. Do we have what we need for the developers to put proper water systems in place without this study?
The important part is to get the water model. The water model is going to answer the questions: is water available to them for these subdivisions? And if the water, if it's not there, the water model is pretty what you need to be done in order to upgrade or increase something. And then that you go back to the developer, says, okay, if we put this subdivision in there, and it says, like my previous comment was, they put a 6-inch 150 mil pipe in, and the water model says, well, you need an 8-inch, right? You need 200 mil. And that's where it comes to say that's where the developer has to pay for those costs, because their current users shouldn't have to pay for that.
And the other thing is, how long do these studies take once we get the funding? Or we got the funding, we get the documents and hire somebody, how long does that?
I don't think it'll take long to do once the RFP has been awarded. It's not going to take long for the engineering firm who gets it to put all the data together. And but there's other water models out there. They'll just pick the one that they'll use the one that they're used to using, and then they'll just write the program and dump it in.
So we,
It'll be
like a
back.
month or something?
I would say 2 months.
Because the other thing is these developers are all hot to try to get their development in, so really nothing could go until we get this study. So that's,
Because you're having an engineering firm confirm what the other engineering firm is offering to bring to the table. So you have that, at the other side saying, yes, it will work, or no, it will work, it'll work with you.
I think that's important for our planning department to know. To let the developers know that we can't go any further with their developments until we get the study done.
And that's why they've been begging, what's the name, last year has been begging for the water. Sorry, go ahead, John.
And it'd be, earlier in the meeting, it said that the RFP is scheduled to probably go in December. January, but.
We
That's something
can't
we're-
guarantee a date
we're
at this
close,
point.
right? We're-
Well, I wouldn't say we're close. It still has a lot of review to go through and it still has a lot of technical information that is required to be put in it. So we haven't consulted with Lakefront Utilities at this point in time yet. Our new CAO, he is going to be making arrangements, I believe, with Lakefront Utilities to try and sit down and figure out what we need to put in the RFP.
Just my only point was that it's in motion, it's happening,
It is.
and let's not slow it down. Yes, and
I agree, Jim.
let's get that RSP out and let's get going.
Yeah.
And whether that's a month or 2 months, we just get it out soon.
Okay, so let's leave the elevated water service because that all ties into all of that and get to the updates to the existing water bylaws. I don't know if you guys have had ladies have had a chance to read the existing water bylaws. I read it twice and I still. Oh my God, I still don't understand a lot of it, but maybe, would you mind, Yolanda, if I started with you first?
Yeah.
Because you have the history behind it all. I know I've been 2 councils now and still have not up to the chief of what happened even before I came in. You can discuss what you think some of the problems are and then we can.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Okay, so through you, Chair Booth. Okay, so what I've done, I have attached a lot of bylaws to the agenda for everyone to review. Whether or not we make any decisions or changes now is here nor there. I didn't expect it, to be honest. I expected us to maybe take it back, read it further, highlight things, maybe come back at the next meeting and we'll really sit down and go through it. So the attachments are for your reading pleasure. However, I did start off with one of the very first bylaws that was put into place when the water system was put into place, and that was back in 1994. And it does have, it is significant because it's one of the first bylaws. Like I said, it has a schedule attached to it that shows the water system, the municipal water system boundary. So that map is very important. It is the only bylaw that actually has a map of our boundary system of the water system. So going forward, what my plan is to hopefully consolidate a lot of our older bylaws into one water bylaw for the township. Some of these have to do with initial connections to the water bylaw or to the water system, sorry. Some of the information in these bylaws are very outdated. It talks of processes that you go through when you're initially hooking up to this system. It talks about what the process was to be exempt in these systems. However, the exemption isn't the same exemption that we apply today. It's an old exemption based on the initial setup of the water system. So you could be exempt for a few months, but you had to come back to council in order to, come back and say, well, I'm ready now, I can, pay for the system or whatever. So when initially this system was set up, the township was basically saying you had to hook up to this system. Either we pay for it to be hooked up and you get charged on your tax bill, or you hook up. And if you can't hook up, give us a reason why. And then there's all sorts of different things in there. So a lot of it's very outdated. It's when it was way, way back years ago when it was first implemented. The problem is these bylaws are still in force. So I think we need to just clean them up, do a review, consolidate them into one bylaw, maybe pinpoint certain aspects we want to keep going forward into our, finalized bylaw and that kind of thing. So basically it's just for your information. The first bylaw I found very interesting reading through it because I'm like, well, we don't do that. We don't do that. So there's a lot of things in there. The second one that was from 94 talks of connections, I believe. Let me just grab them here.
While you're getting
Mhm.
Larry, and maybe you can, is there even a such thing as a municipal plumbing inspector?
I think we used to have one. Yeah.
So even I'm looking at that, I'm like.
We don't have a plumbing inspector.
Nice.
Yeah.
But
This bylaw is adopted. Definitions. It's reference to the agency. Aqua, was an operating authority here north, but has never operated within your system, so
Right.
these bylaws have been adopted from. They look familiar.
From other things, yes, I'm sure they were. Yeah, yeah. So some of these things definitely need, going over. Request for permission. So there's even a permission form here, form 2, from bylaw 30-94. And in it, it basically gives a resident the permission to use their well that is on their property for any exterior water purposes. So it basically says you can't use it for household stuff. That's why you have to hook up to the system, but you can get permission to use it for anything on the outside, watering your flowers or whatever. So like I said, a lot of it's outdated. And over the years, council has made exceptions for different things. That's why we have certain properties that are exempted now because of lineal distance and whatever, right?
how many properties are currently exempted? Is it 13?
It's in the back of one of these bylaws, actually. It's on your last page of the agenda package 96. There is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 by the looks of it sitting here on this list. And that bylaw was enacted in 2021. So that's
So to help things along, would it be, I don't know, I'm a guy that has to see it on paper in front of me. Would it be beneficial for the members that if Yolanda could print it off and then we hand it to you, and over the next few months, you can go through and highlight, mark changes or whatever, so that when you come back here in January, then I find it hard to read off of here, right? Which is nothing down, but I'd like to see what you guys, go ahead, John.
Well, what is it?
Well, Britt, I talked to her, she hasn't done anything yet. She hasn't.
I'd like to do one.
Well, she said she wants to, she's hoping that it wouldn't end here today, and I said, great, we're just beginning. So she said she will do a whole, she's gonna do basically what I'm asking us to do, which is take it, look at it all, and then say, this doesn't make sense, a municipal plumber. We can go to the land and just say, what do we do right now with hookups? Why is this? So we're gonna take stuff out, add stuff, do whatever. Go ahead, John.
I'm just wondering if we all need to go through that. I'm not overly interested in going through it all, and where I'm coming from is, can we not just assign or have 2 people volunteer and do all that work?
Yeah, you don't have to.
To the group.
You don't have to, Grit is, that's her forte. She loves to go through stuff and whatever. And I said, okay, Grit, in January, come to us with I like to just go through it to pick out stuff myself. But I want to pick Yolanda's brain because she's the one here that's in the trenches when people come to complain about it, and it's like we're dealing with. So don't feel in any way, John, if you just read it over and you want to highlight the thing and say, great, this doesn't make sense, talking about a guy who's hang rod or whatever it is that they use, or I don't know, so it's up to you, and witching thing, we still do that, does Lucy?
My dad is a witcher.
I'll get you, Yolanda, in a second, go ahead.
In my experience, staff usually, municipalities produce report of recommendations. And, they receive feedback, from the community or the council. And they move forward, invite, await some good concerns. That the city members and sort of move forward with them and. At the opening.
Yeah. So would we be okay with waiting until the grid could present us with what she wants to in January? I'm okay. And I am too.
As well with,
Yolanda's got some.
You go ahead, Yolanda. I just didn't want it to come across, Yolanda, as we say, go ahead, staff, and rewrite it all and let us look at it.
Well, I think that's great, and I do welcome the information and the opinions and the changes. But like Adam had said, it is typically staff, and it is typically the clerk's department that looks after bylaws. So I can go through them, I can highlight the changes, I can bring a report back. And that way we can still hear Grit as well. I welcome hearing what she has to say about some of the changes as well. But we can go through the changes I know that legitimately need to change because of legalities of other things. Yeah. So yeah, I can do a report for the next meeting for sure.
Good. And I think we were more thinking a lot on the lines of here's things that we have a question about or whatever. So I agree with you saying that it's better for staff to write it. I'm just thinking that, you know, if there are some suggestions or this or that, I mean, fine. You know, everybody's okay with that. Okay. Go ahead, John.
I'm just concerned about whether written like you did and what I just said here. If she goes off into the hole, it's not really gonna get too big report.
No, I'll
I don't think we want that. When you talk to her, what was the?
When I talked to her today, she was, oh, Craig, I really wanted to be involved in the discussion and some things where, you know, she thought we're totally outdated or this or that. So what we can do is I'll talk to her today or tomorrow and say, Rick, go ahead, you can do your thing. Yolanda is still gonna be the one that's gonna come and say, here's what we propose, this is the draft. Rick can present your ideas. It's the same as what's going on with the SCRs, right? This is the draft that we have. Oh, here's input from the committee. And some things she says Yolanda might have already made the changes, or she can explain her reasons why she would like the changes. We ultimately make the decision because what we propose, and when Yolanda brings us to council, it can be in conjunction with the water committee. This is what we're suggesting the change in.
Oh, sorry, with any bylaw, there's repealing of old bylaws, replacing them or amending of, and sometimes that's where we really need your expertise, which is, okay, this one has to be wiped from the face of the earth, right? Because seen too many housekeeping instances where, oh my God, that should have been done 20 years ago. So
That's kind of what we're running into here.
okay, so I would really appreciate the expert going through this and saying, this is, here are nuts and bolts of what has to be done, and here are some nice to be done. I think that would be the way to phrase the new bylaw. And that way council and us and our group can review it.
Yeah.
So we're not stepping on any toes. You want a recommendation from us to ask staff to revise the bylaws and then we take it to council, because I don't want council accusing us to say you're giving direction to staff when you don't have the authority to do it. Because technically we don't have the authority to say to somebody, go and do this.
Which is fine. So I think the committee can make that recommendation that staff go back and review these things and bring a report back to the committee so that we can review them and go through them. From that meeting, I think then we make the decision to keep what we're doing, change it a bit, and then bring it to council. So yeah.
Who would like to make that motion exactly as you said?
All the motion has.
Made by John, seconded by Liam, exactly the
Right.
way you want.
Oh, yeah.
But we're, and then that way me and John can spend time to advise it all. It's still gonna come back for consultation to the water committee in January, and we can make recommendations, quirks, whatever it is, and then a final presentation whenever, when it's all, everybody's happy and had their speech.
Yes.
Let Lucy take a look at it, make sure they have their little blurbs in there.
I'm sorry, who was the mover and seconder?
The mover was John, the seconder is Liam. All in favor? Good.
Good job on not putting the Prairie Group Foundation in place today.
John mentioned it, it's a good idea, John, I'll start looking on it to make sure that all. Okay, so is there any other items for discussion? Is there anything that's come up that anybody wants to talk about? And from Lucy, everybody's happy. Adam's gonna make the, no, well, you have to wait, so we have to take that to council about the sign. So, if Yolanda will just put it in if you put it for the next, I don't have to tell you, you'll do it.
Yeah, it'll be on the agenda. Yep. Yep.
So everybody else is okay with everything? The next meeting is on January the 17th at 3 o'clock. Everybody's okay with that, hopefully? Okay, and adjournment, be it resolved that the Grafton Communal Water Committee adjourned at 4:20. Then mover, Liam, seconded by John, all in favor? Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Lucy. I hope everybody has a fantastic and safe holiday. We'll see you in January.